Okay, we are very happy to be joined by the one and only Craig Gillespie to talk about Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, or is it Kara or Kara? I always
Kara.
Kara Zor-El,
Kara.
aka Supergirl. Let's go Supergirl.
Supergirl.
We were just saying right before we started, I sometimes Kryptonian can get a little over my head. Joins forces with an unlikely companion on an interstellar journey of vengeance and justice when an unexpected adversary strikes too close to home. June 26th, Supergirl. What I think one of the many great things about the movie is that you guys really struck a home run with Millie Alcock as Supergirl. She is so fantastic, so great. And you signed on actually after the casting. I'm curious how much of it was influenced by that. You guys already getting like you got the girl.
No, it's funny. It's like that is the single most hardest thing to do, to find the lead for a film, particularly this kind of film. And I got to go in and meet James after he already cast Millie. So knowing that that was the tone they wanted to go with, to have like an actor of her caliber, I think her performances have been brilliant. Prior to that, I'd watched her in House of the Dragon and several Australian television shows. I could see like the dance she did between drama and humor, and I couldn't be more excited. I couldn't even think of anybody else that would be right for the role besides her.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that that was what they were going for made it really exciting to step into.
I didn't even think about the Australian connection before we thought about it. But yeah, and it's so funny. You guys are getting really pervasive in Hollywood. You guys are everywhere.
No, it definitely was a little Australian camaraderie going on set, I think. And there's a sense of humor that maybe sometimes it was too Australian.
No, we'll talk actually a little bit about what I felt I saw a little Australian influence in a specific movie. We'll talk about that in a bit. What I really liked about the way you guys handled the character, I think, is that you established this iteration of Supergirl where she's a great yin to Superman's yang, especially when you have them on screen together, which is so great. And I'm just curious how important that contrast in characters was for you guys and just setting them up.
Well, it's built into the story. Anna Nagari wrote an amazing script off of Tom King's graphic novel, obviously. But she is quite the contrarian, and she's running away from her trauma. She's running away from responsibility. And it all makes sense from what her upbringing was and like what the loss that she suffered. And she was never groomed for this role where Superman was. So that conflict was built in the best way, and being able to play with that and the altruism of Superman versus her like lack of responsibility that she has makes for some great scenes.
Yeah, especially every time they're on screen together, it's like, oh, it's right.
You feel that so sibling rivalry, even though they're cousins.
Exactly, cousins that met like pretty late into their lives, and it's like immediate, like it just works right away. You mentioned James Gunn. I feel, and we've talked about this like long before you had ever signed on for Supergirl. Like you and James Gunn feel like such a match made in heaven because the way it feels like you guys approach Jesus Christ, the way you guys approach movies does feel very similar in that you guys are really, really great. I would say maybe the best. And especially integrating music into your pictures. Right. I'm kind of curious, like what your guys' meeting was like and like how you guys felt about it.
I was so excited that James got to head up the DC universe because I love his tone, and I've loved the work that he's done, and I do feel a kinship with the kind of style that he's doing and the tone that he, it's always a tricky tone. I love to be in a tricky tone with space, and music is obviously close to my heart. When I met with him, which was at the beginning of all of this happening, I had to pitch myself as a director. They were meeting multiple directors at the time. And I asked him, I said, how much do you want this to be in your universe that you're doing right now with Superman? They were in the middle of shooting. And he's like, not at all. Mm-hmm. And which I was candidly surprised by. He's like, we're treating this like each one is its own graphic novel. And they're as distinct as graphic novels are in the comic universe. And you get to do what you do. And that was an amazing gift that he gave. It was also a little scary because this is a whole world that we had to create.
Yeah.
It was all off planet. It's a universe. I didn't quite appreciate the enormity of that. 50 different aliens, wardrobe, locations. It was an enormous undertaking. But he was amazingly true to his word.
Yeah.
And then again in post, we got to like sort of roll our sleeves up together, and that's a really fun process to be like dealing with a filmmaker instead of a studio.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So to be able to be like, well, what if we tried this, or what if we cut this out, or what if we moved, and like that kind of dialogue is such a shorthand that you have amongst filmmakers.
Yeah, I imagine it's almost like being like an actor's director. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
In this case, you get the guy that like he understands where you're coming from.
Yeah, and the music, and it's like everything. There's it's like, well, what if we drop the music here and like do this, or like we cut out right now? It's like
I imagine too, because this is early days for like the update to DC. I'm kind of curious how important it is for you guys to kind of match your visual acumen at all. Because like obviously you want to look similar, like you're still in the same world, but you also want to establish your own independent identity. So
Well, that was from the get go. Like when I came in and met on this movie, it's very hard to second guess people, and I think you got to stay true to your own instincts. So for me, I put together this deck, 120 pages of visuals of what I wanted to do. And if they didn't want to do that, no harm, no foul. But like, you don't want to get down the road and suddenly be like, hang on, well, what movie are you making? It's a terrible place to be. So I wanted to be as upfront and clear as possible of what I thought this should be. And it was dark and gritty, and the cinematography of it, just the style of it. It's like, I pushed in that first meeting that let's have her not get into the superhero outfit till as late as possible, which wasn't in the script. And he leaned in on all of that. And so that, to have that kind of confidence and be able to run with that was amazing. And I kept waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah, right.
And it didn't. We ended up shooting the whole thing, and it was like that Bible was kind of for all the departments, and we just marched forward and got it done. And that was really special. And
So it's so funny because this is like the opposite experience. Remember we interviewed Matthew Vaughn for something a long time ago. He was Kingsman, and he talked about his experience on like Fantastic Four, and the way he describes it is the exact opposite. We're trying to deal with like a studio where it's like they're overbearing, they're telling you need to cut this, you move this, move this, move this, and it sounding like such a collaborative experience with Gunn feels like a relief comparatively.
I think absolutely, and it's like it's an interesting thing because there's a lot at stake,
Exactly.
So that people you usually do feel the pressure.
Yeah.
Trickling down.
We actually had a few months ago, Jason Momoa was sitting in the exact seat you're sitting right now. And we asked him a lot about getting the call for this. And he mentioned how when Zack Snyder called him initially for Aquaman, like he gets the call, he's like, I want you to be in this movie. And he's like, oh, you want me to be Lobo, right? And he's like, no, I want you to be Aquaman. He's like, oh, okay, cool. But Lobo's cool too, though. So how amped up was he to get the call from you guys? Like,
it literally came up in the first meeting about Jason.
Yeah.
With James and Peter. And he's been championing it for 15 years, Jason. So I couldn't imagine anybody else in the role. And he came into it with such enthusiasm and gusto and, a lot of, conversations. He's probably the biggest Lobo fan there is.
Oh, yeah.
There's been decades of Lobo comics, like trying to single it out of like, all right, so what's his look? What's it going to be? And we quickly like landed in the 90s with the look and trying to really stay true to that character and his lineage and where these like facial markings come from. And there was a lot of great discussions, but then to get him on set and his energy, and he's so gregarious in the best way, and his willingness to play, like try something completely different and find the character was so much fun.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about that with Momoa, and like, because you see in his early work like a very specific source of characters, but then like we watched like Fast and Furious when he plays like basically the Joker, and we're like, oh my God, this guy can riff, he can do this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like you definitely get a lot of that.
Obviously, we're seeing that range now all over the place with him, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, it's very cool. And he actually, you mentioned like the stylized look. Like I felt like he almost regularly dresses like a human Lobo. Like he has like just a very unique like visual like style to himself. So
he does indeed. And it's like when we and the other thing that happened with him, like I wanted this movie to be as practical as possible.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, I want Lobo's bike to work. I want him to be able to ride it through a whole stunt team, 50 like people on the set, fireballs going off, and like do these power turns. And Jason, of course, loved that and was totally up for it. And we built this bike that
that's so cool.
That worked. And so those sequences where you see him riding that bike, he's riding that bike through those crowds and those explosions.
Oh, that's awesome. We mentioned that too when we left the screening yesterday. The practical sets, especially when you see like aliens show up on scene, and you could see like obviously there's CG where like there needs to be CG, which feels like such a sort of breath of fresh air, especially in the comic book world where it felt like there was like an overabundance, and now it feels like it's like let's be more, I don't know, judicious with our shots.
Yeah.
Because like especially with the aliens, you get a lot of practical up to here,
and
then maybe just the eyes, or something like that. But I love that touch.
Yeah, Legacy, we did a lot of our key visual effects, and it's all animatronics for them, but they're great too with like the handover where it's like, the blinks and the eyes turning. We can do CG, but like let's make it as practical as possible. And
Yeah,
find that line.
we
Yeah.
loved that, and that's something we talk about a lot with like Star Wars too, where like I feel like audiences sometimes maybe studios there was a certain point maybe post 2000s where like audiences love CG, they want a lot of CG, but I do feel like audiences do like a lot of practical work. Like there's a suspension of disbelief for animatronics and puppets, which
Yeah.
like audiences do seem to have.
Which they don't for CG.
Yeah, which they now it's flipped and it's on the
No,
opposite end.
it's flipped.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'd say, and I think all practical effects, it's the same with the stunts. Like we built that stage for that big fight sequence
Yeah.
on the biggest stage in Leavesden in London. So we built that whole city around them. And we had 7 tanks in there, one of them blowing 40 feet in the air with explosions, Lobo on his bike. The stunt team had 8 miles of cable ratcheting stunt guys. My stunt coordinator, Rob Inch, came over and he's like, I've never used this much cable in a film before. And so it's as practical as we can make it.
Yeah.
With just set extensions up above. And I think the audience appreciates that. I think it's like they're so savvy now that they can just tell like what's CG, when's the blue screen. And, and it kind of takes you out of it. It's like, but there's just a tactile feeling to something when it's in camera.
Absolutely. I
That
think
you can't deny.
It's absolutely a perfect way of putting it. And I think you feel that a lot, especially on these sets, like the bar, for example. You have a big bar sequence, like you can that feels like a real bar, like a dingy real bar in
You
the
look
West.
360. It's like that, again, characters in that bar. If they're flying out a door, they're getting ratcheted out.
Yeah, they're getting blown up. You're seeing big stuff, and like it's like you're saying the tactile, like you feel like you could reach out and touch it.
Yeah.
Versus like sometimes if it's blue screen, like you don't really feel that immersion maybe
No.
as much. So just kind of curious with Supergirl, maybe just in approaching this in general. What are the comic book movies that inspired you, or some comic book pictures, or maybe just anything that inspired you in this?
Well, this is kind of like a buddy road film. Obviously, which True Grit has that, is a favorite of mine, and just to know that you can have, and in fact, Logan has it as well. You can have like this anti-hero that can be so gruff and unapologetic and put upon. And the audience will go with that. It's like, particularly when you understand why they're that way and what they're coming from emotionally. So just working with those characters is a really fun space to be in. I mean, obviously there's a ticking clock and the violence in John Wick, which is another touchstone, although it's different. But in terms of a plot device, it's you can't deny that.
You also have a great alien and space that can't hear you scream moment too, which I also appreciated quite a bit. That was also great. Yeah, and I liked just the sort of visual you got for Krypton was cool because you don't really get any of it in Superman.
No.
And that's something I think in most Superman origin stories, they make a point, like we got to show you, even in like Man of Steel and whatever, like they show you like here's a bunch of Krypton, but they really throw you right into the action, which I appreciate a lot in Superman, but you give it a little more context to what Clark might be feeling too.
Yeah, no, it was really great to like be able to roll our sleeves up and spend time there and like really see this whole story and how it unfolded and why she is who she is. And it was an interesting way, like when we were doing it, it kept moving around within the film of like, when do we reveal this to the audience? Because like, how long can we go with her being abrasive and like rejecting and like other people and like running away from things before we need to understand why, so that was like a really interesting dynamic in the film to figure out.
Yeah. So Supergirl, June 26th, obviously have to talk to you about other stuff if we can. You also directed Cruella, which for my money's worth, and I've said this at least on our show a million times, it is the best Disney live action adaptation made, period. And I'm kind of curious because you, I feel, had a very clear understanding of what made a live action adaptation work, and that you had something to say. You're like, I want to make my own spin on this, my own story, give you something other than what you've already seen, which I really appreciated. But I'm kind of curious what your formula you think is for the live action remake, and why you think it works.
With Disney in particular?
Sure, just live action. Live action remake. Yeah.
It's like I was saying it on Cruella with every department head when they would come in. It's no offense to Disney, but I'm like, we're not making a Disney movie.
Sure,
we're making an independent film. Like, just think of it that way. Like everything about it, the way we approach every like fashion choice, like production design. It's like keep it as grounded and and real as we can. And it was a similar thing when we got to do Supergirl. It was like just the grit that diving in with Rob Hardy on cinematography, and just the world that they're in. It's just I wanted to feel the texture of it and the dirt and the poverty and the violence and just like feel like we're in it. And and that's again like a little bit more back to that independent spirit. and then have it on this enormous backdrop.
Yeah. And make something that I think that has not necessarily been seen yet, which I think is the smart way to go about it. And then in I, Tonya, obviously, I think that movie, you walked on such a tightrope, it felt, because you have a real story that had real consequences. It was like very serious event, but also you were able to inject a lot of humor into it. I'm kind of curious what your guys' approach was to that.
That was a stressful approach in a sense. And it's funny, my first meeting with Margot Robbie on that film, her one question was like, how are you going to handle the violence? Mm-hmm. And I said, I think it has to be brutal. I think we have to show like what she went through so we understand the way she is.
Absolutely.
Because she never quite gets to the point of being able to have the awareness in the movie of of facing the consequences. Mm-hmm. But when you see what she's suffered through, you understand why she can't quite get there.
Yeah.
And it gives you empathy for her and what she's been through. And I think, and amazingly, Margot didn't shy away from that at all.
Mm-hmm. Which I think helps make it work. Otherwise, I feel like it would feel, I don't want to say gross, it would feel like weird watching it. But like because she I think embraces that, you definitely, I don't know, it helps you build more empathy for her. You also cast and helped kick off the career of a guy we've had on the show many, many times, in Paul Walter Hauser.
Yes.
I would love to know what the audition process was like with him.
It was, it was, I remember it so well. He came in and he basically delivered, because there's so much footage online of all of these people. And he delivered this brilliant performance of an interview of the actual person. And he's so not that. Mm. And to see him then just stop, and we chatted after that. But he gave it such complexity and nuance and vulnerability that I immediately knew he was the guy. What I didn't know as much, and he talked about this, Paul, first take with him on the set, he improvised.
Oh, really?
And he said he could hear me laughing behind the camera. I like to be as close as I can to them. He could hear me laughing, and he was like, okay, I'm okay. He's like, he's not mad. And Paul improvises all the time. And it's so great to be, he's around, like he improvised. Margot immediately came back with him, and the band had started, and you got Sebastian there just like ping-ponging between the two of them, looking kind of pissed off. And I'm like, is he actually pissed off right now that he's doing this, or is he's in character? Yeah. And I realized he was in character as we went along. But to have him do that, and again on Cruella, it's like there was a moment on Cruella, I walked over after like 6 takes, and I'm like, hey, can we just try the script? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, it's great. I love it. It's like, we should just get the script once. Yeah. You know,
it's funny. The last time we interviewed him, he said something like that, where he was on Black Klansman, and he's like, I like to improv, but then I was like, it's Spike Lee. Like, I don't know if I can improv. And then he like tried it, and Spike Lee was like, all right, you can do this. So he's like, yeah, you got it. You know what you're doing here.
Yeah, there would be times like on Cruella, for instance, where I would just give him the improvising of like, they're doing just a very simple birthday scene, and I go over to Paul and I hand him a cake, and I'm like, by the way, it's stolen. And I just give him that little piece of advice.
And he just runs with it?
Yeah. And then Emma comes right back with it.
Oh, I love that. He's an absolute delight.
Yeah.
I'd love to give you some rapid fire questions too. Some nice little fun ones. Is there a song that you've been dying to put in a movie, but you just haven't found the right opportunity yet? It's a song you love.
I've put so many songs in movies at this point. There's a Led Zeppelin song, which they're so hard to get.
Oh yeah, the rights I'm sure are near impossible.
So he's been in and taken out a couple of times.
Gotcha.
But outside of that, no.
Yeah,
I've been very lucky. In fact, on I, Tonya, it was a sort of a blow by blow to get each one of those songs.
Oh yeah.
Because to that point that you made earlier, people heard Tonya Harding and they didn't want to be involved. And then we ended up getting this amazing supervisor, Sue Jacobs. And Dire Straits had said no, Fleetwood Mac, Supertramp, they'd all said no. And she's like, well, I don't know Dire Straits, but I know Mark Knopfler. I have his email. So she sent him the first 12 minutes. My wife had found the song Romeo and Juliet when we were in prep, and she's like, this needs to be in the movie. And it's in that first scene that's but it's quite a violent scene. We sent it to Mark, and then he emailed back, send me the movie. And then we sent the movie to him, and he's like, all right, you can use the song. And then we go to like Fleetwood Mac. He's like, Dire Straits is in.
And now it's like a domino after that?
Yeah.
Like they said yes. Are you going to do it?
And so we managed to get everything, that was originally in the film, which is amazing.
I will say that if you're now in the superhero world, the last time I heard a Led Zeppelin song in a movie was a superhero movie. I think it was Thor Ragnarok with Taika. They used Immigrant Song.
So he managed to get it.
Yeah. So if you're in the right zone right now. So if there's ever a world, you're in the right area right now. What is the most difficult scene you ever had to shoot? Like the hardest, gave you the most fits, whatever, production problems, whatever.
Wow. It's probably, it's funny. It's a good question, but there was it's probably just the exhaustion of Finest Hours, because that was 3 months
Oh, on the water. Yeah.
in the rain, freezing cold rain, and nonstop for 3 months. And physically, that was the most exhausting. That and the other extreme, which we shot $1 Million Arm in India,
it's burning heat
in 125-degree weather in the middle of summer.
Jesus Christ, that's brutal. What are some of the movies or directors that inspired you growing up?
It was The Shining. Was definitely
Shining's
I remember that at 15, and it just completely, it completely changed my world. I almost know that movie frame for frame.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he has this amazing ability between humor and drama.
Yeah.
Whether it's that or any of all of his films, they always have this incredible dance. That would have to be the one. It's like definitely influenced by the Mad Max films as a young Australian.
Yeah.
But they're the first ones that come to mind. I wasn't one of these young filmmakers, like growing up as a teenager being, I'm going to be a director. It didn't happen for me till my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And that was with commercials. And then I started doing commercials. And then I started thinking, you know what? I think I'd like to do features.
Mm-hmm.
And I was amazingly lucky enough to get the opportunity.
It's crazy. Like, I don't think a lot of, at least maybe even our audience member knows, like, a lot of commercial directors go on to become like huge, massive directors. It is crazy. Like, we just
there was definitely a period in the 70s and the 80s with like Ridley Scott.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian Lyne. We just interviewed Gore Verbinski. Like Gore Verbinski was doing like
Gore and
like all these random.
David Fincher was.
Yeah, Fincher was doing them. Like all these actors or directors.
Spike Jonze. Yeah.
Oh man, I love more Spike Jonze commercials. He's still so good. He did one with Zendaya recently that was amazing for I think Apple or something. So good. If you get a blank check to create any movie in the entire world that you want, what would you make it about? Very broad question.
You know what? There's actually it's funny. I would love to do my Gangs of New York for Australian convicts.
Oh, so you do like Ned Kelly gang type thing? Or?
No, it's more the actual like Sydney as a whole. It's like
Gotcha.
Australia in the first 30 years, they just plopped a bunch of convicts down there. And it was absolute chaos. And for the first 30 years, there was no currency. Oh. Everything was bartered on rum and sex.
That's so. I never even knew. I knew obviously the convict stories. I didn't know anything about that. But that's cool. There's a lot of like I feel Australian cinema work, or maybe Australian stories working their way more into the mainstream now too. I think there's a spot for that. I love Ned Kelly gang too. That was also a really good movie. Speaking of, what are some Australian movies that you think more Americans should watch?
You're throwing me under the bus there.
It could be. I mean, the answer could be as easy as Mad Max. It could be something because now a lot of Americans, I would say, have seen something like Fury Road, but maybe haven't seen the original.
I'm a huge Peter Weir fan, and so The Witness, but they're not necessarily Australian movies.
Sure.
But I think his films are timeless. Master and Commander, and
I love Master and Commander. My God, so good.
And obviously, and the same with the Mad Max films. It's like I think it's amazing that he is still doing these films in his 80s, and I think he schooled everybody as action directors.
So it's rewatching. Every time I rewatch Master and Commander, I'm like, how did they not make 50 of these? Because they have the book series is lengthy. They had so much to work off of, but they just, I guess, I don't know if Pirates of the Caribbean.
Society. He had an amazing run of films.
So great, and I would highly, and also I recommend sometimes to people Gallipoli because I feel like all Americans know the story Gallipoli. Yeah,
I should have said that one.
Yeah,
I should have started with Gallipoli.
Gallipoli should have been the first one. Yeah. And then lastly, what is something that you have been watching or maybe listening to that you think more people should watch?
I'm absolutely loving. And I'm drawing a blank on the name, but The Widow's Bay.
I was going to suggest it when you said earlier The Shining. I was like, you should check out Widow's Bay.
I'm loving it. I think they just killed it.
Comedy, horror.
It's that beautiful tonal dance, and Hero's done an amazing job with it. Oh my God. And Andrew DeYoung, and
and Matthew Rhys is just you should see on social media, just because Widow's Bay has become so popular now. Now everyone's going to watch The Americans now, and they're like, "Oh my God, where's this show? This is so good."
He's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, where is this guy?
And he's Welsh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then he's Welsh, and his wife is Carrie Russell, and they're just now. They're absolutely incredible. But again, Supergirl in theaters June 26th. Make sure to check it out. I think most of our audience loved Superman, so I feel like you should. It's obviously next step, natural next step in our evolution here. But thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure.